Happy Monday to you, and welcome on in here to another edition of First Pitch on WagerTalk TV. We got 6 games breaking down on the slate here for you. We're going to be talking a little Chicago Cubs, New York Mets, a little Dodgers, Padres, Marlins at the Cincinnati Reds. We got Yankees at the White Sox, a little prop for you in the Braves and Pirates. And then the gold sheet play of the day on the A's and the Rangers. Maybe the ugly dog of the day. You'll have to stay tuned to figure that out. I'm your host, Dan Alexander, and joining me, we got a great crew. The triumphant return of our man, Drew Martin, alongside Brian Leonard and Dwayne Bryan. And it's great to see Drew back here on First Pitch. So, Drew, we're going to kick it off right here with you. I mean, your time away has left you with an 11-2 heater that you're running on, brother. So happy to have you back, man. Cubs, Mets, talk about, running hot. One of the hottest teams, Chicago. If they're one of the hottest, the Mets probably one of the coldest, right? The Cubs winning 15 of their last 19. So, Drew, welcome back, first things first. And second things, are they going to make it 16 out of their last 20 tonight? How are you betting this one?
I think they are, Dan. And yeah, thanks for having me on today, buddy. I'll tell you, coming back north of the Mexican-U.S. border, I almost think I should maybe go back. I wasn't missing very many when I was down south, but I'll tell you, man, ride the hot and fade the cold. That's something I'm looking to do here. We do get the Cubs, like you talked about. I mean, how many games have they won here? They just took 2 of 3 from the Atlanta Braves. I mean, a World Series contender and the Braves come into town, and sure enough, the Cubs up. Yeah, we'll take 2 of this 3-game series. They're 5-1 their last 6. I'm not looking to step in front of the Cubs. Seeing them with a plus price here, Dan, this is like a wrong team favored situation. I think the market's really reading this one incorrectly. We get Smiley on the hill, the lefty. The Mets against lefties have not exactly been good this season. And sure enough, the Mets overall, I mean, we say ride the hot, fade the cold. How many games in a row have the Mets lost now? 6 straight? They were sellers. So kind of at this time of the MLB season, guys, I actually think it's advantageous to say, hey, this team was sellers, and sure enough, they lose 6 straight. I mean, the give up, it's not like professional teams do that a lot, but hey, I'm not looking to bet on them by any means, especially lay a number here. And this is their first game home after the road trip. Overall, Senga, their starting pitcher, he had 5 walks last time first the Cubs, so they were able to kind of work the count. I see that happening again. We get a bullpen advantage here for the Cubs, so a plus price on the red-hot Chicago Cubs. That's what I'm betting in this one here, Dan.
Drew Enfuego Martin looking towards the Enfuego Cubs. I love it, man. And we're going to be hearing a little bit about that game later from our man Brian Leonard. But first, he's got a big game breakdown. And good news for the Marlins and Reds, Brian, is that somebody has to win this game. Somebody's got to get a win. So either there's a 4-game losing streak that's going to end for the Marlins or a 6-game losing streak that's going to end for the Reds. Which one do you think is finally coming to a close here?
Yeah, Drew made some great points. This is the time of year coming out of the break for the trade deadline, and there's teams that you're looking to fade. They're all over the place, and we've been making a lot of money by fading them, and the Mets were one of them. And so I think he's on a good spot right there. I'm going to fade Cincinnati here. Eury Perez has just been called back from the minors. He was sent down earlier this year to limit his high-intensity innings. When in Miami, he was outstanding this season. 2.36 ERA, 1.09 WHIP. While we can't expect those kind of numbers going forward, his advanced stats shows that he's still an excellent starter. And when looking at Stuff Plus numbers, we find Perez at 127 and Williamson, the starter for Cincinnati, at 66. That's the biggest starting pitcher advantage on the board today. Brandon Williamson had been pitching a little bit better as of late, but his advanced numbers show he's been a bit fortunate. He's allowing a barrel rate of 9.9%. Not something good when you're pitching in Cincinnati in Great American Small Park, as they call it. The Reds have really hit the wall as of late, very similar to a Pittsburgh team. They got out to a great start this season. Both clubs are very young, and they rely on inexperienced players. Pittsburgh has been horrendous after the first month or so, but they got off to a great start. Cincinnati got off to a great run when they started bringing up some of their minor leaguers. But now we're to the point now where it's a long season in Major League Baseball, and these guys have hit the wall. I'm going to take Miami here with the outstanding starter advantage in this one. Hopefully they can put some runs on the board tonight.
Looking towards the Marlins here as they're taking on the Reds. That's Brian Leonard. Check him out, wt.buzz/BL. And Dwayne, we haven't forgot about you. We know you got a big game breakdown as well, and it's Cole versus Cease when you're looking at the Yankees and the Chicago White Sox. And how are you breaking this one down, Dwayne?
Yeah, you mentioned it. We got Garrett Cole and Dylan Cease here, and Cease just pitched in Texas 5 days ago, and they drilled him for 7 runs in just an inning and 2/3. I guess if there's any good news to take away from that, it's that 3 other times this season he's given up 5 or more runs in a start, and when he came out in that next start, he produced a 2.81 ERA in that next game. And I guess the other good news would be he only threw 79 pitches in that game, and that's a season low for him. So, save for the All-Star break, this is about as fresh as his arm is going to be. Then you look at Garrett Cole. He only threw 92 pitches in his last start against Tampa Bay. That's tied for his second fewest of the season as well. So this is about as fresh as his arm is going to be as well. Going back to last season, the Yankees are actually 15-0 straight up and on the run line when Garrett Cole pitches against an AL Central opponent. Now, I'll be the first to say I normally don't like trends like this where it's a starting pitcher against a specific division, but it is, it's also 4-0 this season. So 4 of those 15 wins have come this season, and they won those 15 games by an average of more than 5 runs per game. So while I'm not, crazy about this type of trend in itself, when you're at 15-0 and your margin of victory is more than 5 runs per game, that's something that you just got to factor in. And then on the other side, the White Sox are 1-12 this season when they're off 6 or more straight road games, maybe a little road weary, I guess. They're also 0-2 as a home underdog off back-to-back losses this season. They lost those 2 games by 4 and 5 runs. So I haven't bet this one. I do lean to the Yankees, possibly first 5 innings, because I'd be shocked if Garrett Cole gives up more runs than Dylan Cease. And also, if you can find a 4, I also lean to the first 5 under as well. Just think Cease is going to bounce back here. Yankees not really scoring a lot. They did put up 7 yesterday, but still looks like a good under spot.
Yeah, great breakdown there with maybe potential 2 looks from our man, Dwayne Bryan. Drew, before we get to the best bet segment here, we have Daniel Sun in the chat, and Daniel Sun as the host, who's wondering, they were wondering, you got any thoughts on your Marlins tonight? Since we got a nice pace of play going, I figured maybe if you had any thoughts, you could share those with Daniel Sun and the chat there. So what are you thinking for your Marlins tonight? Anything actionable for you, or you think we already learned all we can?
Sure, Dan. I mean, it's a huge game. I mean, NFL, where's my mind at after the NFL opening line report? NL
Exactly.
wild card implications here, Dan. I mean, 2 teams, what, a half a game apart from each other, fighting for that last game. So it is a big one in the Queen City. I'll tell you this, and this might be kind of the fan in me a little bit, but at the same time, when you follow a team closely, guys, if you're able to kind of decipher it in, hey, when is a team maybe going to get a bounce? When is it just kind of like fan fodder? Eury Perez, the slated starter for tonight, the 20-year-old, he is a flamethrower. He comes out, he's tall, he throws, 100 miles an hour, really comes at guys. His numbers are good. I mean, he has 53 innings pitched in MLB, 61 strikeouts. There's questions with him because I believe he's already at his more innings this season than he's had really in his professional career. So, that's why he got sent down to Double-A, Dan. But now he's coming back up because the Marlins really haven't been playing good baseball, and they need a spark. It is a team that this is the first time we don't see this as Marlins fans very much in terms of the team investing in the club at the end of the season, to make a run into the playoffs. And I feel like they did that this year. I mean, the lineup is a lot better than it was in the beginning of the season. So as a sports bettor, kind of looking for change and going from that point forward, because the odds makers kind of using all the data from the full season. And we did get that change. I actually think the Marlins might be a bet on here after the trade deadline, Dan. But they have a really difficult schedule, and we saw them against Texas get swept. That is a good Rangers team. Overall, they get a lefty here. You want to be betting the fish when they're facing lefties, and they get one in Williamson. He gave up 5 runs his last time out. So, hey, if you need one in the Marlins and the Reds, Daniel's son, love the name, by the way, I would be on the Marlins here. But we've seen the market move a lot, so we might have missed it. It's near minus 150. That thing opened at minus 115, minus 120. So we've almost seen a 30-cent move. And, Dan, I think that's a lot of the market kind of speaking towards Eury Perez and looking to bet on this young gun here starting for the Marlins.
Man, that's a man who's on an 85% run, prepared for anything us Daniel Sons can throw at him there. All right, Drew, one that you actually did prepare for here. We got the Dodgers and the Padres in your best bet. And, man, Padres never even had a shot yesterday. What was it, 6 in the first 2 for Rich Hill? So what do you think? Do they maybe have a shot at getting the split here in the wraparound series, or are we just going the other way with the Dodgers? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Sure, they have a shot, Dan, but yeah, I'm more of a if it's not broke, don't fix it type of guy, type of handicapper, really. And Gonsolin on the hill, a lot of people don't like him, including the betting market. The odds makers. I mean, we've seen money come in on the Padres here, bumping the Dodgers up to plus 130. But to tell you the truth, Dan, when you look at Gonsolin, his last time out, 5 innings, only 1 earned run, and his last time versus the Padres this season, he went 5 innings, only giving up 2 hits. So I think he can have success today against the Friars lineup. Lugo going on the other side of things, decent numbers recently, but he's taken a big step up in class lineup-wise. The last 3 lineups he faced were the Tigers, the Pirates, and the Rockies. Now he's facing the Dodgers. I mean, speaking of lineups that have been hot, you mentioned last night's game. I mean, this is one of the best lineups, particularly against righties. So overall here, plus 130. I mean, we don't see the Dodgers getting this type of price tag very often here. I think it's a wrong team favorite. I got in it, guys, last night at like plus 107 personally. So now we're getting it at plus 130. I added a little bit more before the show. And yeah, Dan, for my best bet, I think the underdog is barking, wrong team favorite. I'm on the Dodgers for the first game to start off this week here, August 7th, 4 o'clock Eastern start. Do note that, guys, the only day game today. So that's my best bet, Dan.
2 dogs for our man, Drew Martin. He's got a $9 play up now. Go check that out at his page, wt.buzz/DM. And Brian, he also backed up your Marlins look against the Cincinnati Reds, and it's apropos because your best bet, you have a look in this Cubs and Mets game. So 2 guys maybe seeing it similar. Is it as simple as backing up what Drew said earlier about this matchup?
Yeah, 2 guys that have been on a really nice run saying the same thing. So that's a good thing. It's a positive. I always like to agree with Drew. He's a hell of a baseball handicapper, just as Dwayne is. I don't want to go against him if I don't have to. But yeah, it's been mentioned. The Mets have lost 6 straight games since the trade deadline when management threw in the towel. Keep in mind, this is a veteran team that started the year with big playoff hopes. We faded the Mets on a consistent basis as of late, so no reason to change up on anything here. The Mets ranked 23rd in baseball in WRC plus versus lefties with a 92. Drew Smiley's in the 79th percentile in average exit velocity, 81st in hard hit percentage. He has the ability to keep these hitters off balance. Smiley struggled as of late, which is why we're getting a little bit better number here. But he pitched well in his only meeting against the Mets this season. I expect another good effort out of Smiley here. We really like Cody Senga, who is coming off his strongest month of the season, but there's no way the Mets should be favored here. In looking at run differential on the season, the Cubs are plus 75, the Mets are minus 35. 110 run advantage for the road team here. Money's come in on the Cubs today, and we fully expected it. The Mets have created right now. The Cubs have won 7-10. We've lost a little bit of line value since I set this up earlier this morning, but there's still no way I would play the Mets here. Senga's a good starter. I like Senga, but this Mets team, they came into the season expecting to go to the playoffs. You got a lot of veterans. It's just going to be one of those situations where you either play against the Mets or you set out the rest of the season so they can turn this thing around.
Yeah, great breakdown there. And as Brian said, running hot as well. Check him out and his plays loaded for $9 Monday at wagertalk.com. Quickest way to get to Brian's page, just hit wt.buzz/BL. And Dwayne, as those two guys are seeing eye to eye, you're standing alone because you want to break down this Braves and Pirates game. And total in this one sitting around 8.5. But I feel like you think maybe one of these teams may be contributing a bit more towards a potential over this evening. How are you betting this one, Dwayne?
Well, I don't know if this game goes over. I mean, Strider's one tough son of a gun on that mound, but I like that Braves team total over. It was over 5.5 minus 120 last time I looked. I want to list Osvaldo Bido going for the Pirates here. Most people aren't going to want to lay nearly minus 300 on the Braves or even minus 170 on the run line. I certainly don't. I do think the best option here, if you like the Braves, is to take Atlanta in that team total over. Beto has made 4 home starts this season. He's allowed 3 or 4 runs in all 4 of those starts. And those 4 opponents averaged 7.25 runs, and all of them scored at least 6 runs. And none of those 4 teams that he faced there at home, being the Cubs, the Brewers, the Giants, and the Tigers, none of them hit right-handed pitching better than the Braves do. When it comes to hitting right-handed pitching on the road, the Braves are tied for 4th in MLB with a 110 WRC plus, 100 being average. And of the 4 other teams that I just mentioned that he faced at home, only the Giants were anywhere even close to Atlanta's success, and they come in 8 points lower than the Braves. The Brewers tagged him for 4 runs in just 3 1/3 innings, and they only own an 85 WRC plus on the road against righties. The Tigers plated 4 runs in only 3 innings against Beto, and that was his last start also. And the Tigers only own a 74 WRC plus on the road against righties, and that's the worst mark in baseball. So, if those teams are plating 3-4 runs off of him in 3 or 4 innings, certainly I can see the Braves doing at least that much, probably more. He hasn't gone more than 3 innings in 4 straight starts, so we should see some early Pittsburgh relievers, and that should only help our cause here. So I definitely, do like that Atlanta team total over the 5.5.
Yeah, the spot making sense. And I know not everyone is all in on the trends and what they extrapolate moving forward. Never a guarantor of future success. But if you just look at the last 50 games for the Atlanta Braves, blindly betting their team total over, you would be up just under 15 units gained betting that. So, a little bit of a recent history as well that said the Braves have been at least hitting the posted totals overs in 34 of their last 51 games. That's what the guys have. We talked a lot of dogs on the slate here today, but some ugly dogs guys need love too. And that's what we're doing with the Gold Sheet play of the day. Maybe the ugly dog to end all ugly dogs. The Oakland A's plus 195 against the Texas Rangers. Don't look now, but Oakland over the last 3 weeks has series wins over the Red Sox, the Rockies, and the Giants. And you look at their opponent in the Rangers, they're going to be without Josh Jung, fractured his hand yesterday. Corey Seager, he's also been out for the last week. And this Texas offense, yes, they've been good against right-hand pitching, top 3 offense, but they'll see a lefty this evening in Ken Waldichuk tonight. So hold your breath, take your antacids, take your Tums. The Gold Sheet play of the day, the A's at a near 2-1 price on the money line versus the Rangers. Cover your eyes, folks. Oakland A's, Gold Sheet play of the day. For more breakdowns like that, head on over to thegoldsheet.com or just stay right on wagertalk.com and check out their page, wt.buzz/GS. Guys, that's going to do it for a Monday edition here. Big thanks to the crew, Drew Martin, Brian Leonard, and Dwayne Bryan. We will be back tomorrow locked and loaded, but don't go anywhere. You can get more information right here on Wager Talk TV. We'll see you tomorrow.